Hi, Dustin. Hi, Camilla. Good morning, and very good morning to all of you. Welcome. Welcome at the new Dutcham event. Welcome to the audience who is already coming in bit by bit on this early morning, on this Wednesday morning.
Oh, good morning. Bom dia. Thank you, Peggy, for the opportunity to have the next 5 weeks sharing some of our experience from our experts about this new reality and to debate what's going on and what's going to be the future for 5 key topics that affects and impacts all of organizations.
Good morning, Peggy, Dustin, and everyone. It's an honor to be here. We are very advanced right now with the vaccines. So coming back to the office, it's now really a possibility. And the main thing here is how are we actually coming back? We see here at KPMG that we advanced at least 5 years in this 1.5, 2 years that we've been in this new reality and this pandemic, that we had to move a lot of our employees to work from home, and especially all the businesses, they had to adapt to a digital channel, otherwise they could not survive. And unfortunately, many couldn't make this switch. We really had to teach Brazilian market that buying online could be a very nice experience. And we were forced to do that. And because we learned that, well, actually, I don't need to have everything so handy. I can buy anything and it can get delivered to me. A lot of people moved outside of the big cities. You can now work from home, so that's fine. You don't have to be there that much. You can get anything you want from anywhere delivered at your door. So this was a very big change, because a lot of people that they would only remain in the city because of those factors, they are now switching. And the thing is, they are not just doing temporarily. Most of them decided that they want to do it permanently, which makes a very huge impact because, well, how is the office life coming when we come back? People got really into using Microsoft Teams and Zoom and everything. So there was a huge increase. People got really used to communicating. The thing is, we learned how to work properly and very well interacting with people from other cities, other countries. Now everything is much and way easier. So this also affects a lot of our taboos and everything we believed that we had to take a plane and 12 hours trip just for like 4 hours meeting. Not anymore. And this changes a lot, everything for just us, of course, like for other businesses, but especially how can we interact? Because now we can get really global. And when we are talking about our talents, people are getting really global right now, way more than they were before. Most of the people, they want to remain flexible. They do miss going to the office and having lunch with their colleagues. But the thing is, they don't want to go back every day and having to face traffic. And also, let's be honest, you can focus more at home. But you lose the innovation talks, the coffee breaks, the sharing information, which plays a huge impact on what is actually the role of the office right now. If we should go there, just actually to interact, should we have the same desks? We'll talk about that in a little bit. The same layout, not. Actually, CEOs, they were very worried at the beginning and they were like, oh my God, how are we going to monitor and control people and everything? Because people won't work, especially because they have all their families, they have to take care of their kids. But actually, they were very positive. The results were really great. And they perceived hybrid as a very, very positive model. Trust increased a lot. Also, companies with a flexible model, they realized they increased their profit very much because they were actually challenged to seek new ways of connecting with their customers, but also because people really reacted in a very innovative and committed way. Everyone understood the pros and benefits and the cons, and also how can they really help the company and be more flexible. And this is a lot about mindset. Every time we train our mind to do something different, actually you open up a lot of opportunities. When you start thinking that, you know what, everything that I thought that it would be just this way, and then I realized it could be in another way, what else could be different? And then when we start thinking about that, we found a lot of ways of dealing with this in a very innovative and great way. In the beginning, everybody was really tense and nervous and anxious to go back. And with the time, because like we really got used to that and learned how to do that and understood a lot of things and learned a lot about ourselves and got more confident in this model, we trained our brains to be more adaptive, to be more flexible, to be fragile, which means I'm not just resisting and adapting, but looking forward to come back. We really grow, like we really change. We really found new ways of dealing with it. And as you know, in US and in other countries as well, but there is actually a very critical and clear example that people don't want to work from like offices or malls or having to go to work every day anymore. It's a huge gap, many stores, especially in retail, they're suffering because they cannot hire, because people want to work from home. And actually everybody realized, well, we can be digital nomads, like I can travel and stay in another place and experience this going to other cities, even countries, because nowadays it's getting a little bit more flexible. We had here a lot of experiences with our employees that they were in other cities and even other countries. We were hiring people, and this is so interesting. And let's just remember what happened in the short term, and especially what are we expecting to happen in the long term. So in the short term, when we were talking about the relation with the office, everybody was talking about, okay, how can we track how are people having contact with people who had disease or not? The focus was really in contingency. So how can we keep people healthy? How can we make sure that they are not with corona and everything like that? They also had a lot of policies limiting the capacity. Of course, the government had played a huge role in that, but also the companies, they were truly and genuinely worried about that. The benefit of it is because companies, they could experience a very reduction in travel costs. But of course, they had to invest a lot in infra. Many companies, they were not ready for that. They didn't have, for example, laptops. They still used desktops. They didn't have secure ways so people that could connect to the apps and everything. So a lot of investments were made in a very short time in the beginning. And of course, it will not end. We need to keep improving our tech infra so people can actually be way more confident and comfortable, but especially very safe. We need to use data safely. So this was very important. And then what we're talking about long term, actually it's changing so much, and there are so many new expectations, but especially so many new opportunities. Just want to learn and know what are companies doing, what are they learning and planning for the future, especially now, not about just like controlling if you're going to have like 3 days at home or in the office, but how are you actually working in this new dynamic? The first thing that we know is that we do work more, we do work better at home because, well, we don't have so many distractions, especially now that kids are going back to school. So the parents, they do have a little bit more structure and they can focus and they don't have to support the kids that much. So when they go to work, actually, when they go to the office, it's for the innovation, it's for the sharing, it's for the connecting. So we do need to rethink our offices so it can be a more collaboration spaces, so collaborative. We need to make it not something that people stay there and work and sit down, but actually a place where they can interact, where they can have true and genuine human moments. Probably the desks won't be permanent, so you can share desks with anyone. Actually, it was becoming a trend, and now it's even way more important, is that please sit with people from other areas as well. Learn something new. Think about new working spaces, because people are actually preparing their houses for it. This is also one of the reasons why people are moving outside of the cities, because they want to have larger spaces so they can really have new working spaces. But another thing that is actually very interesting is because I can now hire people from anywhere, and this is also very important. We're talking about that in talents. I should also provide these working spaces and co-working spaces across the country and across countries as well. We had a huge increase in meetings, long hours. People were easily working 12 hours, flexible hours, especially because of dealing with family. People had to sometimes start early or later and so on. The first thing that changed quickly was the dress code. We got way more flexible and comfortable. And this was a very good thing. Actually, which was a very taboo before, if you were working from home, is that if your dog barks or if your cat appears or if your kid comes calling you, and now it's fun, we love when it happens. And actually, we entered in this privacy and we reconnected with the human normal life. This is part of who you are. And this was a very important thing. People got way more comfortable being who they are. And when we are talking about mindset, this is very important because it unlocks a lot of your potential. If you cannot feel genuine, you cannot innovate. So these were very important lessons that we learned, that this had to be normal. And we have to think, okay, what else is normal? So can I express my ideas? Can I really be me? And that was very important. Another thing that when we talk about long-term is that focus on mental health. This dual reality, and we are sociable beings. We need human contact. And so the flexible way, it's very challenging. People will soon very well be worried about, well, if I don't go to office, will I be seen? Will I be remembered in promotions? Will I get the cool project or not? How can I stand up? What we could see that the most successful initiatives in mental health were the leaders that spent time talking to their employees, promoting some get-together conversation so the team could get together, that opened up a space to talk about their anxieties, their problems at home. When they really opened this arena that employees could come and bring their issues and say, you know what, today I'm not feeling well. And another thing that we talk about routines is that we will have a high automation. So we learned that, well, technology is really necessary. We need people to actually think, to have insights and data analysis. We became digital businesses, and it's impossible to go digital and deal with this amount of data. and not become digital talents. So we do need machines. And because we have no idea what else is coming next, everything that should be local, that it should be automated, because you need to let people free to be safe. And sometimes it means being away from the office. This demands something that it's very critical, and what we call as well as digital management. And this plays a very different role now, because actually the schools and the universities, they are not preparing digital talents. The way we learn itself, it's really based on memorization. We don't train our kids to actually find ways to look for answers, to experiment. And when we're talking about digital talents, those are very critical points. And the thing is, in the beginning, we did in the short term installed a lot of technology to monitor productivity. Many companies did that. And that affects trust tremendously. Many companies are going back on that because they learned, well, it's not about monitoring people. We have to trust them. But I have to start managing people not by tasks, but by deliveries. They need to understand the context. They need to understand what are the main goal. They need to have access to the information, because this is very critical when you're talking about decision making. The quality of your decisions, they are very measured by the amount of information that we have. So, and now in this digital reality, it's very easy to spread information. But then it becomes another thing when we talk about long terms. Well, there are a lot of data and everything. So are my policies correct? Are my practices correct? The way that I measure performance, the way that I measure potential, the way that we actually think, how we do it, how we pay the benefits. How can I be a good leader if I have some people that come to work a few days, some that never come, some that come every day? How are the meetings going? So are we going back to that scenario that actually went with the people that were out of the office? They were mainly an audience in the meeting because they could hardly ever actually participate because the people who were actually in the office dominated the talk. We can't do that anymore, you know? So how can we balance people who are at home and people who are in the office in a way that everybody has a voice? How can I actually make sure as a leader that I am being there for everyone, even the ones that I don't see it every day? How can I actually speed up their learning, their potential? How can I help them connect with the other people? How can I help them actually be part of the company as a whole? How can I help them actually be part of the whole system, the whole platform? Because with this new reality, we not only changed the way we work, we changed our models. Companies are becoming more and more platforms. They are connecting with the ecosystem that they are in partnership in a very different way. And we don't know how to do that. How can we actually manage online communities? How can we manage larger communities? So those are all the things that we have to learn as leaders. And also, one thing that we've been questioning a lot is org design. In the past, it was very clear, you know, okay, who's the boss and how many steps do you have in your career and so on. But now everything is so fluid, so fast, so different. How can we actually keep these people? And then we come to the last thing that I would like to talk to you before we open up to questions, which is talents. As companies had to become rapidly digital, they start hiring digital talents. So it was a war even before that, and it became an even worse war. developers, digital marketing analysts, data analysts, and everything. They were in huge demand, and people had to hire anywhere. So it was like, okay, if there's a talent, just please come. We really need it. So there was no geographic barriers anymore. Which now, can we make and force them to go to one specific city? And the other thing is like, what about those smaller cities, or not the huge cities, that the companies had quite advantage with their local talents because people didn't want to move. They liked their cities, they liked being near their families and friends. So they didn't want to go to São Paulo, for instance. Now they can work for a company and stay there. So these local competitions, they were a disaster. So we have to think about new and creative ways of keeping our talents, because purpose became very important. Everyone was looking, how are you going to react in that new reality? How are you helping the new and the crisis and the situation and everything? And not only that, but can I be flexible? Can I have new ways of learning? Because remember, we didn't have enough digital talents before, and now it's even more necessary. So we have to rethink about the ways that we learn, but not as people only, as companies. How can we share the knowledge among areas? How can we make sure that what people are learning becomes a property of the company? Because it's very common that, well, this person is the process. If this person is on vacation, we don't know how to pay the bills, And the thing is, it must become a process. It must become, people now are being valued by their creativity, by their insight, by their analysis, and not because they are just following a very rigid process or because they know the most effective and productive way of doing it. So we have to totally rethink the way our offices are designed, the way our careers are designed, the ways our learning are designed, but mainly the way we connect as people. Say that the main competence one should have is knowing thyself, knowing yourself. We cannot expect anymore companies to tell, okay, teach me the new process, teach me how to use the new tool. So actually the learning agility is key. We have to learn very quickly. But most of all, we have to know how to boost ourselves. Because as I said, the main change, one of the main changes in culture is that companies finally understood that they cannot know everything. So they need their employees to bring new initiatives, to bring new ideas, to learn. And well, it doesn't come from the top anymore, all the direction. No, like everybody's part of the transformation. So you have to, in order to transform yourself, to learn faster, to accept change, to seek for new challenges, to deal with your emotions properly, to deal with whatever it comes, you have to know yourself very well. And that's very complicated, that's very tricky, and that's scary actually for most of us. Like if you really face yourself, it will be scary because you will know what you're good at and what you're not good at. But the thing is, like, embrace it, and know that, yeah, you're just human, and go with it. Top leading companies, they make decisions. That's why the decision making is very spread and it's very safe, because it's not intuitive, it's based on data. So we have to learn how to use data. We have to learn how to make tests and prove our concepts and make decisions based on that. Another thing, and this is very tricky because we have now to be analytical, but very people skills. We have to be empathic. We need to know a lot about human behavior, about human needs, and how can we access that? Because the customer is changing very quickly, and we have to adapt very well. We have to be really passionate about the problems and not our solutions, because no one else will buy our product just because we market very well, if they have so many options right now and so quickly and easy to access.
What we're seeing is something that was already happening, but what really changed was the speed of change that we saw, was how this has accelerated in a way that nobody could ever predict. So it was like 5 years of improvements in 3 months. And the second thing is that having or responding to that is not a matter of choice. Or being digital before was perhaps a matter of choice. Now it's not a matter of choice. It's a matter of Charles Darwin. You either do it or you're going to be out of business. And this is, I guess, is the most interesting data we have here. Half of the organization are focusing the scope of their digital transformation across the entire enterprise. What does this mean? This means that it's just not about having a website selling stuff to clients. It's not about just having a heavy technology to support an operation based on data. It's really about having everyone in the company, every single department or area in the company working together to make sure that this transformation happens and the final outcome to the clients happens. And actually, we do have content. We have researchers that say that the companies that have the entire organization, meaning front, middle, back office, working together, having the customer, the client at the core, meaning it's not about what I want to do, it's about what my customer wants, what my customer needs, and how to develop and deploy it, considering data, considering the customer experience, considering the insights that this data generated, considering having alliances with providers that make that let's say, contribute to having the whole value chain. I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but having the whole value chain addressed when proposing a service, when proposing something new for the clients. So the companies that have this broader view and more strategic view are the ones that have twice as much success. They are twice as likely to succeed in these new markets than the ones that do not work in this way. What do I see as challenges that we realize are happening at the point? And I've put a couple of points or provocations here in two different buckets: the short term and the long term. The way I like to see it is that the short term is this afternoon. It's not even tomorrow, it's this afternoon. And the long term is perhaps tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. So we're not talking here long term 3 years from now, 5 years from now. We're really talking about something that's just around the corner. As we know, some countries or some areas in US and Europe, they are really having to fight back, and there are the new variants. What does this mean? Is that the consumers are still concerned about the risks of the pandemic. They still are not going, let's say, to, I don't know, stadiums with 50,000 people just living their regular lives. And this does have impact in the way they will consume products and services. And everyone has to have this in mind. Again, it's not something that's over. The second thing is that it's not just about having let's say, a new digital way of selling. It's not about just a selling channel. There's a lot of opportunities that come from having this new channel. Like for instance, it's much easier to grab and gather and data from digital interactions in all the touch points than it is on the real life, on the physical world, let's say. Obviously, that it also comes with other challenges. It's not just about collecting the data or gathering this data. It's really about how to turn this data into information, and then how to turn this information into insights that will lead to changes and new products and new services and new experience and new, really then offering or answering back to the customers. The third point that we are seeing at this point, and this is really interesting as well, is we are seeing a lot of companies adjusting the way they are working on digital commerce. And this comes, and I put here like a fast entry versus a correct entry. Why do I mean that? What do I mean by that? When the pandemic first came, some companies, they couldn't sell on the physical channels anymore because they were closed, and they didn't have any digital channel to sell. Then what happened is that they just very quickly, and I'm not saying that, don't get me wrong here, I'm not saying this was wrong, but they had to react very quickly. And so obviously, when you are under pressure and you react quickly, it doesn't mean you make all the best choices you would make if you had more time, if you had more planning, if you had proper investment to be addressed to it. So companies really reacted very quickly, and obviously there's some room for adjustments or improvements to be made. Maybe the technology that was taken was not the right one for that kind of business. Some of these companies are really taking one step back and making sure that they get what they have done, what they have learned, and now with proper time where they want to go and they need to go, and how to put all of this together to make sure that they go on the fast track at this point. Setting up a whole new way of doing business is not something easy. It's not something that you can just do and believe that you're going to have the return of this investment on the one. So obviously, all these delivery costs. How do I apply a last mile that's proper? Which are the options I have to that? How do I invest in my logistics? Should I have dark stores spread throughout the region I work at or throughout the country? Should I work with partners? Should I just go for a marketplace? So all of these are questions, are challenges. These investments are challenges that companies are still having to address, and they still have to take care of in the short term. Before, obviously, you have, let's say, the long-term development and the long-term benefits of it. And I have mentioned this before. I think that's something that, again, we can see. And for instance, this last mile is a very good example. Companies have to look, and they are looking, they are setting up alliances to be sure that they are able to answer for the needs of the whole, or whatever is taken, what is required for the whole value chain. But when you talk about tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, it's really what we see going on. Again, we can see that the convenience of all these digital models, they are still here, and they have gained some of the digital of the preferences of the customers across generations. This experience, it has to be very and this is something important when we come to the e-commerce. The experience has to be very smooth and has to be the same as on the physical or even on a hybrid experience when you combine physical and digital experiences as well. Also, the industries are being reshuffled, and this digital commerce, they're promoting a winner takes all. What do we mean by that? If you have, there is a very good example in Brazil. One of the main marketplaces we have here is basically buying every single player that you can think of that somehow adds value to their ecosystem. It's really bringing everything on, let's say, an Amazon-like way of doing business. It's happening in Brazil as well. the issue of data privacy and perhaps more than privacy, let's say data security and cyber security is something that is really, really important at this point. This point is gonna become more and more important due to the law, to LGPD, due to, obviously to business continuity, but also due to the fact that I just want to make sure, I just want to make business and buy from an e-commerce, buy from a company that I know that it values my data and it protects my data. If I see risks with that, I'm not going to feel comfortable in doing business with such company. Balancing of the investments we want to make on the resources, on the workforce to support this hybrid digital model. Digital being the combination of physical and digital. Is I can go to a shop, I can see I don't know, a T-shirt. I like the model, it fits me, but they don't have in the right color. They can just send it to my home, to my house. How to actually achieve this rebalancing? How to make it happen? First of all, is really understanding and anticipating the customer needs, so we can make sure that we design the proper journey, the proper experience we're gonna offer to these customers, and then obviously deploy it on the best possible way, making sure that you understand what you need to do, you understand what your client needs, you understand what you need to do to reply it, and you actually make it happen the proper way.
Last year, KPMG has launched our research in the middle of the pandemic and trying to understand what are the priorities that are in the mind of our main customers and executives. And most part of them said that the pandemic or the COVID forced them or enhance their priorities on adding especially new digital capabilities to products and new services. There is a worry in the market, a preoccupation in the market that the traditional business, they are not given the revenue that is expected from the companies, and they are trying to find out through digital strategies new ways of enhancing their the operational efficiency, and on the other hand, to design new business model to their customers. How do we concrete them in terms of a digital architecture to serve the customer is the main problem that we have to discuss. Another thing that is important to understand, and people and that customers are exposing this in this research that we've done, is that the COVID pressed all the supply chain in terms of the delays and in terms of breaking down. I'm not saying that the digital strategy or a very good digital supply chain platform will solve all the supply chain delays or breakdowns that are being COVID exposed at the actual operating models. But because there are other factors that unfold the problems of supply chain delays or breakdowns. So there are 3 or 4 here capabilities that are particularly driving the worries of customers today, especially to have a responsible operation and supply chain, because there is a need to respond very aggressively to what we call experience centricity by design of the customer or customer experience. But one point that is very difficult for us to design in terms of tech architecture that solve the digital platform for supply chain strategy is that all this data that come from customer to production, they are disconnected. And so the connection and then the correlation of data from the customer to production has to be integrated in some way to have a good supply chain responsiveness to the demand of the market. What we try to bring here in this static slide is what are the answer or the responses that we have to do in terms of designing a good, what we are calling here, digital supply ecosystem. But for example, to be agile, you have to understand, for example, the last mile to deliver a product, or to be flexible when you have to change, for example, one address of a customer to a final delivery, it's important. Or to be reliable, you have to have inside of the digital platform a good security strategy, I would say. So these are all faces of the same coin from one side. From the other side, in my point of view, there is a huge discussion in terms of digital strategy and what is the point of not having a digital culture strategy and why this has to be with supply chain. Most part of the digital strategy does not consider that the problem is not about putting technology over a company, because most part of the companies have its IT departments, and these IT departments are solving problems. And we have to think about problems or solving digitally problems from inside or very close to the problem. So my proposition and my reflection here is to bring digital or to bring tech to inside of the supply chain. And then think, because we have people that understand about the supply chain problems, but we, in most part of the case, don't have people who understands about the problem and think digitally about the problem. And that's what we are proposing here. That's why in Pradas, we have to have inside of digital supply or inside of Industry 4.0, for example, a multidisciplinary team that has the knowledge of the supply problem and the knowledge of the way we are going to solve this problem technically, I would say. There is another feature that is very important to think in a cloud architecture, because this will bring flexibility to solve the problem, and you have a lot of opportunities in the market and a lot of services, very, I would say, cheap services in the market to escalate and digital solutions inside the departments or inside the operation. Another thing that is very important is, and I think that is one of the most important things, because the data governance here, the data, where the data are coming from, this response to these problems that we are analyzing here, the problems that we are trying to answer. The answer for these problems or to attack these problems is in the data, in the source of the data that we are analyzing. So there is a foundational analysis regarding to the systems that already exist in the supply chain, that is very important to analyze. what are the APIs or the applications that connected all the system with a unique platform.
I would like to start my talk about the changes in the business world after this pandemic situation. What we are seeing is the enterprises are facing rapid changes and disruptions that threatens their future. What are the main impacts we have in this world? I brought here 6 main impacts that we are commonly seeing across companies. First one is the changing of workforce demographics, converging industry models, the shifting regulatory environment, political unrest and trade barriers, the rise of new business models and competitors, and the last one, but the important thing, the big data and emerging technologies. In recent KPMG research, we found 3 main concerns from CFOs in different companies. First one is about innovation, how to prioritize innovation and how to implement processes and execute the innovation over the next years. The second one is the agility, about how to have the agility in this new environment, in this new context. And the third one is about how we can grow. The growth relies on their organization ability to challenge and disrupt business norms. And in this context, what is the finance leader's role in this environment? Well, while business models are being adapted and rebuilt, the finance functions finds itself is a unique position to be at the heart of change across an organization. The introduction of new technologies, increased volumes of data, regulatory changes, and the need to deliver more for less adds pressure to the CFOs and finance directors. Finance functions must pivot from transaction processing and reporting towards strategic business support to drive profitable growth, reduce costs, and delivering efficiency, assume a broader set of strategic responsibilities within the enterprise with insight and value to the business. How we can do this transition to be a more finance dynamic function. So we highlighted here 5 main characteristics to pursue. The first one, enable new technology, automate everything. So to stay competitive, business must transform, but by leveraging technology and unlock new capabilities and opportunities. The second one and the third one, manage and monetize data and serve as strategist and lead enterprise performance are about create value capabilities using data to create insights and increase focus on value creation. Beyond efficiency gains from traditional finance-related tasks by using automation, predictive analysis, and cognitive learning to extend the role of finance. The fourth one is about to become a real business partner, how finance can stay closer to the business and help understand customer needs. And the last one is about modernized workforce skills in this new environment. And when we grow our automation levels, we need to create new capabilities. We need to create new skills, focus on the business and focus on more non-transactional activities. Based on what we talked until now, we bring these 6 main topics. The first one is the strategy and value. And the CFOs and the finance directors, finance leaders, they have a very important role in this transformation. The finance leaders is a co-pilot with the CEOs to define the strategy to create value and define the new value creation levers. The second one is about extreme automation. Do you have a digital strategy? Do you understand what's your current position and what's your aspirational digital landscape for the future? Not only for the finance, not only the finance function, but all the process involved finance functions. How are you evaluating digital opportunities and determining highest areas of return? And another question we have here, do you have the roles to enable your digital strategy? And what the incremental services that finance can provide to the business digitally to support your evolving business? Well, the third topic is important about data analytics and insights. So finance has a very important role in this side. Act as a strategic advisor to business to provide data-driven insights and help drive decision making. Establish and promote the enterprise planning strategy while proactively identify business and economic trends. Build and maintain customer-centric solutions and provide enterprise-wide analytics with KPIs, operational policies, and requirements. The fourth one is about modern workforce, how we can set up your organization for new ways of working. What are the new skills needed and how you upskill? How we can develop enterprise experiences. Do you have the roles to enable our short-term and long-term goals? This analysis is important to sustain the growth. And how can you innovate while engaging employees? This is also important. The fifth topic, organizational agility, is talking about how are you managing the impact of disruption on your operating model? How are you evaluating automation opportunities? And what are the incremental financial services we need to have to provide support in the evolving business? And what the new roles and skills and competences is needed? And how are you defining your journey to transition towards a digital enabled service delivery model? And the sixth and the last one, risk and compliance. What is the very important aspect for CFOs, and how we can put technology to help controls, to help mitigate risks and modernize our compliance controls. What emerging technologies your organization already have to enable compliance? What technologies address cybersecurity risks? And are your risks and compliance activities also generating business insight? Your risk and compliance is only control, or you can use this side to to generate business insights. So, can your current finance workforce address the evolving skill sets required within risks and compliance? And the last one, does finance successfully partner with the business tax and internal audit to enable innovation?
We're always talking about IT supporting some business goals, right? But nowadays, our first statement is that every business is an IT business today. So, lucky for me and from my colleagues from IT, it's the truth, right? So it's impossible nowadays to impact anything regarding your business model or the experience of your customer without touching any base of IT. On the former way of working, we were doing what we call the business strategy, and then with the business strategy in hands, we all planned to be the IT strategy. So IT was some kind of back office or was something that to respond to some kind of business strategy. And nowadays, I think we're talking a little bit different. IT is a major part nowadays and should be running well together, tight hands with the business to move forward. Like saying here that IT function is very crucial to enable new business models, and new business models means new services, new products, and of course we have the market speed and scale that we're been struggling with, right? So our ambition here is really take the next step. So being able to change, being able to provide some kind of new ways of working. And all of the researches that we have nowadays are saying that almost 100% of the C-level or the leadership are talking that they are focused on some kind of transformations. And like we said before, all of the transformation is going to touch the IT base. More than 80% of the executives are not confident they're going to be achieving those types of transformation, or is not going to be successful on the transformation that they are planning. So what we're trying to say over here is the most important part are not only the skills, but the ways of working. It's really special when we have to oscillate between the model that we have and the new model of working. So thinking broader, not only the skills that we have, like we call the analytics of the digital skills regarding IT side, but thinking about doing the things on a completely different way. So it's not about more doing a linear process and so on. It's not about talking about the hierarchy and providing directions to my staff or so on. And the key message over here should be thinking about the people, right? It's not about the skills and not about the process over here. Thinking about much more about the skill strengths that you have. Thinking about the people and the way you can provide a co-creation or a much more collaborative environment that you have. And all the people should be in this mindset to collaborate with each other, independent of their levels on the career inside the company. You have to thinking about doing a good environment to collaborate with each other, right? So thinking about the employee on the center, right? Thinking about the people on the environment that you provide to them. How can we evolve on this internal culture to support new ways of doing business, or thinking about new products or new services to our customers over here? You can see on the right side of the slide over here, we are talking about 4 major accomplishments that we need to achieve regarding digital culture, right? So data-oriented, like we call it today. So all about our business today is driven by data. I think we can have some ideas, and then with those ideas in hands, we have the correct tools to prove if these ideas are correct or not, if this trend is correct or not. Thinking about taking some decisions on a data-oriented basis it's very different about the taking decisions on the past, right? So, and the other side is talking about high innovation. So innovation is much more about thinking about new ideas and exploring those things on the people, right? So giving them some space to provide new ideas and thinking about new ways of doing the business that we want today. So it's driving this culture of that we can move forward, we can try new things, and of course we're gonna be adaptable. If we're gonna try something and something goes wrong, we're gonna adapt and we're gonna move to the other side. That's no matter with that. So it's really different about the way of we do today, right? Expanded culture, it's the concept that we talked before about not only seeing the skills that we have inside the company, but being aware of the skills that the world has to us. Is not only thinking about the internal areas that we have inside the company, but thinking about what we can achieve if we had something new from outside, right? And dynamic multitask, right? Dynamic multitask means run much more, I would say, smaller initiatives, but in parallel, new ways of trying to do so many things that you're gonna, of course, with minor results, you can take the right decision to move forward with the correct one. Our final tips to build the connected culture or the digital transformation road that we're talking about. So it's the point over here is the culture, right? So it starts by focusing on the skills that you have. It's very important to understand what is the capabilities that you have inside your house, what you're good for, and probably what is the capabilities you need some help on an external way. The second one is the soft skills. Thinking about training all the people, thinking about investing on soft skills, not only on transforming a little bit that you have inside the house, but thinking about the hiring concept that you are talking about. The third one, it's the experimentation culture, right? So really, I always say about this is it's really the be ready to fail, right? So if you have you have to try the new model. So be ready to fail and be ready to adapt. The fourth one, it's really find the role models, right? So find the people that they already have this mindset. So probably you have some people inside your company that runs innovation in their veins, right? So they thinking about something new things. The fifth one, it's easy, right? Like we saw, but the risk that we have, we always hear talking about digital transformation. It's thinking a little bit abstract, right? It's an abstract concept over here, but try to move away on just the abstract parts. So show to the company based on numbers, like it's a data-driven approach elsewhere. So thinking about how we can measure the success of the projects that we are doing. Our final statement over here is the harder part is often knowing where to start and taking the first step. As we say, don't be afraid to take the first step. So you have to be not only have the courage, but you have to be ready to adapt, like we call.